Hi everyone, it's Adam Agresta here, Head of Commercial. I'm here with Troy Carthew, who is the Engineering Manager for Psyke. And today we're going to run through a platform training walkthrough Q&A with Troy, specifically for the new self-serve users that are logging in to Psyke for the first time. Troy, handing it over to you, mate. How are you going?
Good. Thanks. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to all the questions you've got. I know that you've faced some things with the platform where you've kind of gone, oh, will I do that? So hopefully we can answer all of those questions, and hopefully that'll be helpful for anyone else who uses
That's right. if I'm asking these questions and having these little bits of confusion around the tool, I can imagine all of our users would as well. So it'd be good to get all of those out of the park, answer them today, but then just go through a general walkthrough and hopefully help our users figure out how to get the most out of our tool and also what it's designed to do, not do, and all that sort of stuff. So, mate, I'll hand it over to you. Share your screen and let's go, mate.
All right, I'm going to start by just doing a quick walkthrough, a brand new setup. So let me share my screen, and you'll see that I'm literally on the first screen that you see when you log in as a brand new user. And what we've got here is our goal is to create for you, based on your website, campaigns for a long tail SEO strategy. So you don't know what long tail SEO is. It's all about having really customized pages and links for your brand and your website, and for all the things, the keywords that you want to rank for on Google search. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to step through how the program works, how the application works, and feel free to ask questions as we go, Adam. And what I'm going to say before I kick this off is one of the things that we're doing here is we're using AI agents to do a lot of the heavy lifting here. Our goal is that we use AI agents to do what would normally take you weeks to achieve, working with engineers and designers and writing copy and doing all of those things in order to create these campaigns. So, but what I would say is, because we're dealing with agents, one thing you have to think of is AI agents are really, really smart, but they've got no experience brain. So every time you start something with them, you're dealing with an agent that has only learnt what it's learnt, and it can't draw on experience from the real world like you have. So sometimes you'll ask it to do something and you'll be surprised at the response, but that's only because it has no real world context to be able to draw on to understand what you're talking about. So sometimes it takes a little bit of tweaking to get the responses you want out of the agent. So let me kick off here. I'm going to use a website that I've used a lot because I just happen to like the website. So stripe.com/au. I'm sure we're all familiar with the payment platform, and if you go to their site, you can see it's a beautifully branded site with lots of information on it. So I'm going to kick this off. Now, what's happening now is we are validating that we can access this site right now. So here, if I can't access that in the first instance, then that will throw an error. So I have been able to access it. And so now I'm landing into the agent, and it's all the setup work that needs to happen in the background so that we can do what we do. It's happening right now, and then you can see the agent is kicking off there. And it's actually telling you what it's doing. So right now, it's going, okay, I'm going to go and have a look at that URL, and I'm going to do a few different things. The first thing it's doing is it's kicking off the brand agent, so to go to that website and have a look at the page. So we take screenshots and we get all the information from the website to understand styling and logos, all of that sort of thing, and put together a branded page to use for your campaigns. The second thing it's doing is it's understanding the text content on the page to get a context. And as you can see, it's just come back to me now with context analysis. It's picked up the fact that Stripe is a financial infrastructure platform, and it's got payment solutions. It's suggesting a campaign funnel based on the information that's there. So basically looking at your main product is landing page. It would be a landing page driving to users to sign up and contact sales. And it's identified PayPal, Square, Shopify, Braintree, etc. as competitors. So it's given us a comprehensive place to start our campaign from. It's also asking me at the bottom is that right? Or does this need adjustments? So what I could do here is I could say, get more details. And so what it's going to do is it's actually going to go and have another look, and it's going to beef out that context. So we've got more information about the site. This can be a handy thing if you feel like the context really hasn't grabbed everything there. You could also, in this case, you could actually throw in your own context. You could actually say, that's great, but also add this to the context and give it a paragraph of text that explain a little bit more about the platform and what you're trying to achieve. So now it's rerunning this agent. And in a minute, it's going to come back to me asking me that question again. Are we good to go now? And we'll have a look at the results that's come back. So you can see it's given me quite a bit more information this time around. And so that's going to help us with the next step, which is what we want to do is we want to identify keywords for your SEO that are keywords that you're currently not ranking for, that will help you get more clicks and more search results with Google. So, and that's where the campaign really comes into its own. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go perfect, continue with the keywords, just clicking on the button there. I could have typed that in if I wanted to, but I like to click on buttons. And so now it's going to kick off into the keywords. Now this takes a few minutes because what we're doing here is we're jumping into exploring that context and the website and going, what keywords do you currently have? We're using a few different platforms in the background to analyze those keywords in terms of how you're ranking currently for search results, how the competitors are ranking for those keywords. And we're trying to identify what are the keywords that your competitors are ranking for that you're not, or what are the keywords that neither you or your competitors are ranking for that could be good keywords. Yep.
I just thought I'd jump in with a question while it loads, Troy. Can you help us and whoever's watching understand, first of all, where we're getting the data from, and also if you do know with the agentic model, where our agents are also sort of getting the data from as well?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So what we're using a couple of browsing tools to browse the actual website and to get search results, to get the keywords there. And we're also using SEO platforms to actually get the competitor information around the keywords and understand the rankings and the search results for the various different keywords there. So we're actually doing quite a bit of backwards and forwards with all of that in the background here. That's why it takes a few minutes, because what we do is we get a list of keywords, we test those, and we go, are these good enough? Let's see if we need to reshuffle them or group them together differently for a different style campaign. And how does that rank? What are the competitors for that? So there's actually quite a bit of backwards and forwards going on in terms of being able to achieve that.
Right. No, that's awesome. And so just to recap, I guess, while this loads, as you can see it on the screen, we're getting the context first. On the back of that, like you said, the agents then figure out what keywords to put forward as a plan. And then after that, what's the ideal outcome after we've got the context, got the keywords? I know we're going to show this eventually, but what is the ideal outcome from URL ingestion right through to deliverable?
Yeah, so the ideal outcome is we have a group of keywords, up to 50, that are ideally set together as a campaign. So there'll be a focus area of the campaign and a strategy behind that campaign. And all the keywords there should make sense for that particular campaign strategy. So as an example, based on the keyword rankings, it may come back and say, well, you're actually ranking pretty well for a lot of things, but you don't have a lot of location-based ranking. So let's do a lot of location focus in here. Or it might have a mix of location focus and industry focus. So there could be a combination of keyword elements, or there could be just one core focus. It depends on what it's finding in the data.
And another sort of question, and maybe also an observation, and beautiful, looks like it's continuing. Yep. And it can take 5, sometimes 10 minutes, depending on how much data it needs to search for, right?
It's usually about that 5-minute mark as a maximum. I've rarely seen it take longer than that. And usually if it takes longer than that, it's because we're using in publicly available endpoints for the LLMs, and sometimes they get a bit congested.
Gotcha. And just quickly, before you dive into this, can you also please, on top of what you're about to explain what's happening here, can you also explain, as you did with the context, but also with the keyword section of what we're doing, the ability to be customized as well? For example, if keywords don't show up, or if you want to remove some, whether it's now or later on, our users do still have the ability to have full control over what's happening here.
Exactly. So our goal is to try and do as much for you as we can. But as I said, the agent I just view its abilities as a really, really smart pre-team. Got no world experience, but knows a bunch of stuff. And so sometimes it'll get some amazing insights and get it right. And other times you'll go, what did you want? And that's just a little bit about how agents work, but we're refining that and improving that all the time. So yeah, so as you can see, we've got the results back here. We've got a range of different keywords here. So it's told us that the focus of this campaign is payment processing and gateway solutions. So that's what it's focused on as a group of keywords. And the strategy is all about it being a comprehensive payment processing and gateway solutions targeting businesses seeking payment infrastructure, etc. You can read the rest of that on the screen there. So if you look at this, what it's showing is we've got add-ons, we've got different payment types, it's got competitor analysis in the campaign strategy. So that's all looking at this as how would I put this forward, or how would people be searching for comprehensive payment processing, and how do I make sure that our pages get up in the search results for that? So there will be people out there who type PayPal versus Stripe into Google search engine. So you want to rank highly for that, so that as Stripe, your pages come into the SEO search results there. So, and as you can see, there's various different, there's FPOS, there's direct payments, there's cardless, etc. So all the different payment gateway types. So it's managed to pick that up beautifully. I haven't had to do anything here. But let's say Stripe invoice, for example. I'm not really keen on having that keyword in there. There's a couple of different things I can do here. So one way is for me to just literally copy that keyword and just down the bottom here, just say remove Stripe invoice and hit enter. And what it's going to do now is it's going to go and edit that list and return an edited list to me without that in there. You can do this for a number of different keywords as well. Or you might look at this and you might go, actually, I don't like that strategy at all. I actually want to focus completely differently. Now, this sometimes works and sometimes doesn't work. So you can see it's reloading, and now that Stripe invoice is not in that list at all. So that's great. It's removed it properly. And I could also add, similarly, I could just say add this, or I could add a list of keywords in there just by typing. So I could say ads Braintree versus Stripe, and I don't know, what's another one, Adam?
Probably Square payments.
There we go. So if I do that, now it's going to go away and it's going to edit that list again. Those in.
This is great. And I think what we're also showing here is the ability to customize and be nimble, and maybe also to highlight, because you brought up a good point before about the core topic here is payment processing and gateway solutions. This is an observation, but also a question, just to sort of clarify how the tool could work, is if our users want to target a different topic, my belief, and I'd love you to clarify, is that needs to be handled within the context phase.
Sorry, in the context of, I missed the last word.
Oh, sorry. So that if, say, if our users want to target a completely different sort of keyword cohort, they would make sure that they tell the tool within the context agent procedure.
So you can do it in either. So every time we're interacting with it, we're adding to the history of the conversation. So the agent is becoming more aware about what you want as a user. Now, its ability to deliver on that, we're still evolving, and so we're improving the agent all the time. But so say, for example, here, now I've got my set of keywords. Let's say I went Actually, I want to focus on online payments. So let's change the keywords and campaign strategy to focus on online payments.
Just because I want to make sure I get this question out before we proceed. What we're doing here, because I was under the impression once we give it context, when we move to the keyword agent, we can't really go back to the context part. But now what I'm seeing here is it's kind of more about what you're talking to the chatbot about than anything else. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's right. So the context, that's just, I guess, a summary of all the information on the website that we're using to do all of these interactions. And so we'll continue to use that as we're interacting with the chatbot, but then the conversation adds up as you go. So we're adding more and more into that conversation as we go. So you could sit here for 15 minutes and interact with this until you've got exactly the list of words that you wanted, if you wanted to be that detailed with this list. And it's going to keep interacting. Sometimes you'll get great results. And I was working with one earlier today, and I asked it to remove, it was a law website, and it had the word attorney in a lot of the keywords, and I asked it to remove all the keywords that had attorney in them, and it said, I'll do that. And then it went, okay, here's your list, and it still had all these words with attorney in it. We sometimes, as I said, it's an agent that, you know, you do get some odd things happen sometimes. So then all I did was copy and paste those couple of keywords in and asked it to remove them specifically, and then it removed them. So sometimes it's all about how you ask sometimes.
Just to help also clarify why does this happen? And I, of course, we must stress we're MVP and we still have a lot of iteration and development to do. This is pretty much version 1 of the self-serve prior to all of the development up to this point, right? But sort of public version 1. Why does our tool sometimes not bring up the right keywords or relevant keywords and maybe work how we'd like it to work?
So it's a bit of a multi-million-dollar question, that one. But there's a few things that go into that. So, for example, sometimes you might get a really bad list of keywords, and that's because of the content on the specific page that you gave it. For example, a lot of home pages don't have a lot of detail about the features of a particular business. So when there's all very broad general statements in an entire home page, it can be hard for the agent to actually pick up what the website is actually fully about. So sometimes picking a different page than your home page can get you better keyword results. Another thing is, because we're using LLMs, you may have heard of hallucination. All LLMs hallucinate, and that sometimes affects the results. What we do is we put in place guards to try and protect from those hallucinations. But what we have to do is we have to refine those guards over time based on the use cases that we have. And you mentioned that we're MVP. So we're literally in that stage where the more people we have using this, the better we can make the agent by implementing those guards and making sure that they behave correctly. And also the other thing is, the way agents work is you've got like this main agent, and then you've got all these tools that you give it. And sometimes the tools don't quite interact with the agent the way you want them to, and so you've got to constantly refine that until you get it right. So it is an iterative process.
I actually had a case yesterday where I tried to ingest a brand and do sort of demo campaign for a client that we're pitching to, and the tool actually came back to me and said it wasn't able to get the necessary information. And I guess what I'm saying is sometimes websites have particular things in place to block scrapers, and can you just chat about that real quick, please?
Yeah, so that is a great example of where this can really be hard for us to achieve the result for people, because some website platforms implement what they call bot blockers. So the idea is they stop people generally being able to scrape content or get information from the website. And they're different ways that can be implemented. We don't need to go into all of that. But what it essentially does is all the tools we've built to be able to do what we're doing here, they get literally a blocked response. It can be like sometimes an internal server error, or it might be a permission or access denied error or something like that, which means we literally can't get any information from the website at all, even though you or I can see it in our browser fine. So this has come back, and it's a great example of, I asked it to change its focus, and it changed its focus, but it really misunderstood what I was going for. So I asked for online payments, and it's kind of going, okay, well, for online payments, we're talking currency conversion. And that's literally what it's given me the results there. So this is where the fact that an agent doesn't understand experience, it doesn't have real world experience, it's just trying to understand best from the information I've given it. And so we could go backwards and forwards, as I said, for however long I need to get this right. I'm not going to do that in this video, but it literally would then be a matter of, I would probably prompt it again, but ask the question a different way so that it understands what I'm wanting better. And I might have to do that. I have to learn how to think like the agent thinks to do that. So I have to maybe ask that 3 or 4 times to get the result that I want out of it. Just like with ChatGPT, sometimes you'll say, find me this product or find me the best something as this, and it'll come back with something completely unrelated to what you want.
Great. And just while we're on this screen, although the research results probably haven't mirrored what we were hoping in terms of the new strategy, as you said, explained it very well. Do you want to explain to everyone what we're looking at in terms of from searches right through to AI traffic within this dashboard?
Yeah, so the thing that we're doing on every iteration is we're hitting API endpoints for data sources that track and store SEO information for keywords and for websites. And they'll connect in with Google search, Bing search, all of these different providers of search results, and they will track things like clicks and views and all that sort of thing. So as you can see, these keywords, part of the reason why these have been selected is because this grouping of keyword has appeared in 6,600 searches. So it's kind of gone, well, if my focus is online payments and this is a keyword I've come up with, let's see how many searches it is. It goes, okay, that one is a good one to rank for because I'm going to get a lot of eyeballs on my website if I rank for this set of keywords. And so then the intent and difficulty, this is basically, it's just some measurements about what we're trying to achieve here, which really relate into, for example, this one here, we have, it's got a difficulty of 5. So it basically means we don't have data to relate to that one. So we're just going, we don't know. Where we do have a number, this is a difficulty in achieving the result. So for this one, it's 5 Australian dollars to euro. That's probably a fairly common search query and use case for SEO. So it's basically saying that's not hard to achieve results in search engines. But here, this one with 21, 1 AU dollar, that's not very commonly used and not very commonly showing up in search results. So to achieve this, and because it's competitive in terms of the number of searches there are, so searches versus search results, it's a little bit harder to rank for. So that's where the rating there comes in. So Go Cardless, that's one of the competitors for Stripe. So if there's any information about how the competitor ranks for these, so in this case, Go Cardless ranks 3rd for billing addresses, 2nd for billing address means. Wise is another competitor. This is how they rank for these various different keywords. So it's giving you a view of what your competitors are achieving with this set of keywords. And then we're talking about what our goals are. So we want to have a certain amount of SEO traffic score. That's just something that all these data providers around SEO traffic, they give a score to your traffic score. Our goal is to rank top 1. That's what we want to do with all of our keywords. And then we also, our goal based on how other people are performing and the difficulty score, what we think is a realistic goal for us to be able to achieve in the AI traffic results. So that's where you do the Google search and it comes up, and sometimes it'll mention different websites and things in the AI results that you get at the top of the page. That's those results there. So what we're trying to do is ranking those results there. Does that answer your question?
100%. Yeah. I think we're probably ready to go to the brand agent.
Yep. So what I do now is I save and create pages. I could have clicked the create pages button down on the right there, but I click this one over here. So now what this is doing is it's going, okay, do I have all the other bits and pieces? So remember we were getting the branded page and all that sort of thing in the background. That's a fairly long and involved process. So that's been happening while we've been chatting with the agent here. So now it's going, okay, I've saved all the keywords. Now I'm going to check that I've got the brand. Yes, I've got the brand. I'm going to create the content for your page. So it's using that context, these keywords, and that brand to put together a complete campaign for you. And so this takes usually about a minute. So what it's doing is building out all the text content for the page. If we've got images that we were able to scrape from the website that we can insert in appropriate places in the page, we're doing that. And it will land us on that page shortly, hopefully in the next 30 seconds. So here we go. We've built the content. So now we're actually populating that out for every single one of those keywords. So we're creating a unique set of text for every keyword so that you can have, I guess, one styled page, but with different content for every single one of those keywords. And it usually takes less than 3 minutes, up to 5 minutes. We are tweaking this to all of these parts, by the way, where we say this takes 5 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever. We're working on optimizing that and shortening that period of time. And in coming weeks, you'll see iterative improvements on all of that. So as you can see, it hasn't managed to pick up Stripe's logo, but we've got a bunch of information here on this page. Now, you see these shadowed in bits. That's because it's showing me what is unique for this particular set of keywords. So if I switch to a different set of keywords, let's say I go billing address, you can see that it's changed this information for that particular keyword. So it's what we've done is we've created a base page and then it's changed it for every keyword to give something unique and something that will rank well for that keyword. So this is Stripe's website. You can see we've got a range of different things. Now, this is a particularly hard website to ingest the brand on because you can see as I'm scrolling, there's all of these animations that happen. It's hard to pick up what that looks like and turn it into a brand. But you can see here, we've got this gray and this purpley blue, and then we've got this other dark blue, and then we've also got white and these other couple of colors, and we've also got up the top, if I go back to the top, the use of gradients. So if we go back to our resultant page, you can see here on this style, we've actually picked up a lot of those colors and applied them to the page. We've also noticed, they like to use gradients. So we've actually got a section that has a background with a gradient on there using the colors that we've picked up. So this is all done using AI. So we haven't got an algorithm that goes, this is how you do a gradient. The AI has just gone, they like to use gradients. Let's apply a gradient tastefully to this page that we created. And so from here, then we've built an interface where you can actually edit every element on this page. So for example, this is going to probably look rather bad, but let's say I wanted to, I'm an engineer, not a designer. So let's say I've selected this bit of text here and I wanted to highlight that and emphasize it. So I can mark it as bold, and I can pick a different color for that bit of text so that will now stand out. And I can say, for example, let's say I've got these columns here and I want to add a new section after here. So I can actually go up here, grab a section, sorry, clicked on the wrong thing. And let's say I want to put this section in here in between these. I can add that in there, and in here I can edit and add my own images into the website as well. So I can now start to tailor this to be exactly what I'm wanting users to be able to see, but I'm starting from a good starting point because I've got something that has a lot of the brand elements. We've picked in a lot of the colors. So these colors here, by the way, these are all available here. So if you go, actually, that's close to my primary color, but because it was gradients on my site, it may not be the exact color. So It should be that. And now that changes everywhere on the entire page. So everywhere where that color has been applied, it now gets changed over the entire page. So I can continue to edit. I can add sections. I can remove sections. I can change the images, the content. If I have a button, I can change where it points to. So here, literally, normally we don't know where you want your call to action buttons to go to. So we point them to your website that you gave us during the initial process, but you might have a particular form on your website that you want to point this to or something like that. So you can edit all of that in here.
Can we, so just super quick, can we also dispel the myth that we are just a landing page tool?
We are a campaign tool. So right now, the campaigns we have a tool to be able to build are landing pages, which are targeted around long tail SEO. But in the future, we'll be building other types of campaigns. So Google Ads campaigns, Facebook campaigns, all your different social media campaigns, perhaps even email campaigns. Our focus is being able to do campaigns well and fast and optimized.
I think the other thing to add to that is if a user wanted to use this as something that acted as a blog or an FAQ page or a product review page, or I mean, when I get asked, I say we're actually a sub page builder off a root page off the main website. So it's a beautiful tool to scale landing pages, to scale SEO optimized landing pages, but also if you want to use it as a location based page, or like I said, a product page, even a subcategory page, we can use it for that as well.
You can literally here with this, you can build out any page that you want to have. So, and even if there's something that we can't do natively in here, so we don't have a button to do a particular styling or something like that. For example, we have this custom styles element. And so you can actually go through and you can actually add all your own custom styles. So if we don't have a button to do it, you can style it yourself that way. We have the ability to do things like DATASET. So if you have specific information that needs to be showed and tailored based on your keywords, but it's not something that an AI could properly pick up. So let's say, for example, you were doing a location-based campaign and you had different store opening hours. Then you could actually have a data set of information that you upload and you use just these moustache style elements to target the information you have in the landing page. And that will pick it up for every different variant. So you have your Brisbane set of data, your Sydney set of data, etc. And for every different keyword location, it will actually then insert the right data into that page there so that you can load the information out there. So there's a lot you can do with this tool. Even if you didn't have the AI, you can do a lot.
That's awesome. Can we chat, unless you've got any other things to talk about what we're looking at here, can we chat about another, I wouldn't say a myth, but another big question, another frequently asked question we get asked? Do we need to log into a WordPress, Webflow, who's CMS, subdomain, subfolder, all that sort of stuff?
So this is standalone and on its own, but you can incorporate it into your website if you have a WordPress site or a Webflow site or etc. So when we go to the publish settings, we've got this domain setup area. And what you can do is you can set up a subdomain for your site for us to use to host these pages on. And then this will give you some settings to set up there. And from there, we've got some instructions that we can give you for how to then proxy that content. Proxy is a word which basically means just go and get it from here and show it there. And so essentially you can have, let's say, for example, let's say stripe.com/au. They might have a subfolder called /pages where they want all of this content to show. So we can have all of this content from here show up on that route using a reverse proxy. And we've got instructions on how to do that. And in the future, we'll be building more and more tools to make that even simpler and easy to do.
Great. And just when you say this can be, I guess, embedded into the existing CMS. Do you mean through this mode here, or?
So the important thing, first of all, is to set up the subdomain. So you, in the case of Stripe, you might go for pages.stripe.com as the subdomain. And so in this instance, what that allows us to do is host it there, which is on a subdomain of your main domain. So the security protocols in the browser will show the content properly. So if you try and include it in your website and you haven't set up a subdomain, you can have problems with some browsers with showing some of the content.
In order to do that, right, they would still need to go to step 2, set up the DNS, and then.
Yes. Yeah. So, and that's all in here, and there we've got instructions and tooltips, etc., around how to do all of that.
I was going to ask, actually, just before we talk about the meta information and the tracking. In fact, if you want to talk about this first, go for it. Otherwise, I just want to touch on if SEO agencies or SEO experts who are probably much better than you and I in terms of diving into the weeds of SEO and expertise and experience. I want to talk about things like schema markup, canonical tags, H1s, and how our tool.
That's what I was going to jump into here. So
awesome.
once we've got the domain information set up, schema markup requires certain information in order to be compliant with the search engine. So Google have their own rules around what you need to provide in schema markup. Otherwise, they'll completely disregard it. So obviously we need to set up a slug to show it on. Typically, that's the keyword that we have. But then you need page title and page description information there. So we need to make sure that we have all of that. Page description, a lot of the time this will be picked up and filled out by the AI, but sometimes, depending on the campaign, sometimes the AI is not able to really narrow down an effective description. So you can fill out your own here as well. Then we have the ability to add in the Google Tag Manager. And so when you go to set up reverse proxy, here you get to put in what is the path that you're going to show it on your website. Now, that is really important for schema markup, but it's also important if you're proxying the content in. It allows us to build what's called a canonical URL. For anyone who's done a lot of SEO, you would know about those. So that basically Google knows if it sees, say, for example, let's say its crawler hit the page on pages.stripe.com, it knows that, oh, actually, it's the same page as this one, and you don't get penalized for duplicate content. So that's a really important part of this. And so there's the download instructions link that I was talking about before.
Lovely. I have an important question, which actually was a prospect that I spoke with yesterday, potential client. I'd love to ask you on this call because we can nut it out on this call and also get the answer to this question. This gentleman was mentioning he's quite experienced in the world of SEO, and he's mentioning that what do we do, or what can we do to ensure that the content speaks to potentially the American market versus the Australian market? How do we ensure that the Zs are S's and all that sort of stuff? How do we solve for all of that?
So there's a couple of different things in that. So we don't currently have any localization settings in our application, but the instructions that we give our agents focused on targeting based on the target location that we identify from your website. So that's one of the things there. So if we pick up multiple of those, then it will actually tailor the content targeted based on the keywords for the different zones. How well it does that, I don't know. I haven't lived in every country in the world, so I can't really comment. It would be great to get that feedback from our users. But the other thing that we can actually do, and we'll continue to improve on, is when you edit this process, all of this content, we've got this little bot down here. So we can actually say, let's say this content here is there. You could say for the, so this is now going to look at that text, and it's actually going to tailor it for that context. And then what will happen is the final step before publishing your pages. So as you can see, there's nothing particularly in that text that probably needed changing for that. So it's probably not a great example, but as you can see, it has tailored the text, and I can just apply that to the page, and you can see it in there now.
I was going to say, could we this maybe could be maybe something for another time, but could we potentially write the word specialize but without the Z to see if it changes from an S to a Z? Let's try it. And if you're watching this and it doesn't work, then that's on me.
That's all right. It's something else we know we need to add in there. So
let's put it without the Z, so that way.
Oh, sorry.
And then if you want to say tailor it to the American market, let's just see if it does work, because I think that was a big part of the question, is other than it targeting the keywords and the location of those keywords, can we ensure that if we would prefer the content on the page to be speaking to the American market, can we ensure that the S's are Z's and whatnot? So
in this case, what it's chosen to do is just remove the word altogether, because it's picked up that the context I put it in that doesn't make sense. Right. So
it's all good.
What I have seen the platform do, that we've had this even come back with Chinese characters and Chinese letters based on websites that we've done, but how well it applies across multiple different zones within the one campaign. I think you're probably most reliably going to get results if you target one campaign per location, and it will give you far more reliable results in terms of that regionalization type of output.
Awesome. I just have a few more questions before we wrap up. Talk to us about the sync edit and also making changes on one thing and then that happening across pages.
So we've made changes to this paragraph. As we mentioned before, these highlights, that's what's unique for this particular variant of the campaign, or keyword for the campaign. So what happens is, as soon as you start to make edits, we go, we now need to make this change relevant across all of those different keywords, but we can't just copy and paste. What we actually do is we get the keyword and the strategy and the rest of the content of the page, and we go, now let's make that change make sense in this other page. And so we do all of that processing, and that's what syncing the edits does. So that's this button up here. So if I click on sync edit now, in the background, we're going through every single one of these keywords in this page, and we are assessing how that change needs to be modified for every single page and reflected properly in those pages. So what we'll do is, when this finishes, we'll come back and we'll flick through a couple of the other keywords, and we will see exactly what results we've got there.
Great. I think just to sort of help summarize, so what's happening is whatever changes we make in whatever section of the page we make them, that our AI picks up that is what needs to be changed on those other keyword pages, but it's heavily geared towards the changes we've made. So obviously, if you change one page, you want to be able to change them all, and it uses that as a lesson for the other pages, right?
Exactly. So you can see this is the paragraph that we made the changes to. It hasn't changed it for this particular keyword because we've edited it here. So we obviously want it to be this. So it's left it alone here. But now if I switch to one of the other ones here, you can see it's modified that paragraph substantially for that other set of keywords to make it make more sense.
And can I ask, I know our tool has only created 3 pages. I think everyone can see that now. That's probably due to the keyword planner. I don't think we finalized, or do you want to explain why this might have happened?
I'm not sure if I actually committed all of the keywords properly when we were going through the keyword planner process. It could also be, we're recording this on a Friday afternoon. My experience has been on a Friday afternoon, the AI inference endpoints that we are using are the busiest, and we tend to, Friday afternoon Australian time, so we tend to hit a lot of bottlenecks there. So what may happen, and I'm going to just do this, risking refreshing the page and seeing if the keywords are there, because they may have actually been created in the background, but they may have taken longer than where we waited for in our process.
Gotcha. Let's see if that has happened. And just while it loads, if it loads, then just actually, here we go.
They are only there. So what will have happened, what is most likely happened, we'll have to watch the video back to see if this is the case. Is I likely didn't properly complete the keyword process and commit it there. So,
and if we went with the original plan, it would have created 50 pages, because that's exactly what we'll ask it to do. And we can also, I just saw there, which we both know, you can go in there and add keywords. Can we?
Yes, exactly. So if you did end up in this situation, you can very easily go in here and go
Square versus, oh, is this still, it is Stripe, $.
versus euro. You can either comma separate or, no, it is comma separate. We changed this interface a couple of times. You could also add Stripe versus square.
Stripe spelled incorrectly. Yeah.
It
is from Bravo, mate.
You would think for somebody who types at a keyboard for a living, I could actually type, wouldn't you? So now I click on generate, and that's actually now adding that to the campaigns and adding new pages and tailoring them based on the keywords.
I do have a question while it loads. Questions are good while pages are loading. Can you just help us, if you are in SEO right now and you're watching this, or you're a marketing manager, why use this than say Elementor or Webflow, and then you duplicate and you know what I mean? Like, in terms of ROI, time saved, talk to us if you can about that.
So there's a couple of things. One of the things is that keyword research that we're doing. So we're hitting those endpoints and we're pulling in all that information so you can see how it ranks with competitors and all of that sort of thing. You can do that yourself, but that takes a reasonable amount of time to do. And what we're doing is we're trying different keywords and seeing which ones rank best. And that's all happening in an automated way. For you to do that amount of work in a spreadsheet and backwards and forwards with the endpoints or ChatGPT, etc., it's going to take a period of time for you to achieve that. The other key reason here is if you used, let's say you were on Webflow and you were building out all of these different pages. If you build out 50 pages all based on the same campaign style and focus, but then you had to tailor every bit of content on all of those pages for what you're doing, that's a lot of editing and a lot of proofreading and a lot of time backwards and forwards to get that right. Typically that takes about, the numbers that I've heard and seen on articles on the internet, that takes about an average of 6 weeks to build a 50-page campaign for most marketing managers. You can see here, this was built in minutes. So even if it's not 100% right, you can tweak it and tailor it within a couple of hours at the most. You could have a beautifully built, targeted campaign. So for me, I wouldn't let anyone else know in the company that I was using this. I would do this, then I would say, I'm going to be working from home. This campaign needs my focus for the next 6 weeks. And just go and do whatever I wanted. I'll be at the beach.
Oh, I love that. So we'll look to see if the keywords have been created, but can we also just chat about the Stripe logo, whether or not that's an issue, the fact that it didn't get ingested? That'd be good.
So we can see that the new keywords have been added here, and we have pages for them. This is just loading it all and bringing it into the screen. Not quite sure why it's taking so long.
It's Friday Arvo, mate.
It's Friday afternoon.
So we can chat about the Stripe logo, and is it easy to ingest or upload a new logo there?
So any image on the page, it's very, very easy to upload a new logo. What happens, it's really hard to identify what actual image in the HTML should be the logo for a company, particularly on something like Stripe's website. So here's our Stripe versus Square. And it's changed everything, giving details of the comparison between the products and why. It's a pretty powerful tool there. But so if I click on this Stripe logo, I can go here. You can pick up from your own library, so you can use the replace button to upload that image there. The DATASET tool that I was talking about before, you can actually just have a link in the DATASET, and so you can, if I go here, you can literally just say, this is the variable name in my data set, and we'll pick it up there. Or in the case of a logo, you wouldn't do this, but for other images on the page, we even have the ability for you to generate images with AI and customize them for each keyword in your campaign. So say, for example, this has this chair here. So let me go to that image. I can go, actually, I want to use this, but I want to replace the main object based on the keywords that I have. wouldn't work real well because a chair isn't relevant for any of the keywords that I have there. But so I'm not going to run that because it'll give you unpredictable results. But let's say we've gone through and this was a particular image. Let's say our campaign was for different cohorts of the community. So you've got middle-aged singles versus mid-30s couples, and that's your type of groupings that you have in your campaign. You could change this image to show a single person versus middle-aged couple versus couple with kids, all of those different type of things, and it will actually generate different variations on an image for that different grouping.
I have one question as well. So say our users wanted to edit this page because they might see that maybe the H1 wants to be more around stripe versus square, and if they scroll down and see elements on the page that need to be changed, will that, because it's changing a comparison page, will that affect the other pages, or will the other pages stay the same because it's more around the keyword and page rather than this specific page here?
So it's a great question. For every edit we make, everything is viewed in the context of the overall campaign strategy. So when we sync it out, there is the chance that any edit we've made on this page will end up reflecting a change in the other pages. But all of the content on those pages is in the context of that keyword. So if it doesn't make sense to change it, it won't.
That makes total sense. And I even think that I was just thinking it could even, in a way, enhance the other pages, because you're actually potentially adding more unique data to this page. And the more unique data you're putting into the whole system, the more relevant those other pages likely are going to be.
Yes. Our experience with our team who actually build these pages for clients is that the more you tailor it and the more you tweak it towards what you want, the better the overall result in the end.
Wonderful. Look, I don't think I have any other sort of questions or things I wanted to highlight. Is there anything else you'd like to say in closing?
So I just wanted to finish the comment on Schema Markup, because I don't know if I made that actually particularly clear, because I was trying to find my way through the new interface here. But where we have these settings here, this field here is the most important field for us to have for Schema Markup. If we have that, we'll automatically generate Schema Markup with all the information populated for the page so that Google and the other search engines can understand the Schema Markup. But if we don't have this, all of those tools will ignore the Schema Markup anyway. So we don't bother generating it unless we have that field of information.
And in terms of getting that, this is probably a super simple question, but it is a matter of our users getting that from, actually, you know what, I'm not even going to ask, how do we make sure we get that?
So this is when you are wanting to show the content on your main site on a particular path. This is literally just you deciding what that's going to be, and then you follow the instructions here on how to set that up on your platform. So if you're on WordPress or Wix or etc.
Gotcha. And that's setting up a subfolder to enact the reverse proxy.
So this basically means that everything on this particular path, so in this case, it says psyke.co/pages, everything underneath that path, so stripe versus square, that's going to be the slide of stripe dash versus dash square. So that would show up under psyke.co/pages/stripe versus square.
My last question, thank you for that. My last question is actually reporting. Can we please show the GA tag and just one or two questions about that?
Yep, so that's under analytics. So we've built the scripts to include your Google Tag Manager if you need to include them. If you're using a different GA4 or something like that that doesn't nicely sit into the Google Tag Manager script, you can actually edit the head of the page here and just literally copy and paste just your script tag into there.
And this is actually more from my knowledge as well. And let's just say we're using, so for example, ActiveCampaign, they would be able to provide a particular code to help with attribution reporting, tracking UTM parameters and whatnot. Are our users able to copy and paste things like that into our tool?
Yeah, literally any script tag that you need to add to your page, you can add in here. The caveat I would put on that is, obviously, when you're adding scripts to a page, and you won't be able to see them in the tool because for security reasons, we don't want to run scripts that any user is adding in while you're using in the tool. So you can actually only see them working on the actual published pages. So it may be for some providers a little bit of trial and error in terms of copy it in, publish the page, test it, make sure it's working, and if you need to make adjustments, then you just make the changes and republish.
Even things like Facebook pixels and any other sort of pixel that advertisers may want to copy and paste. Like you said, it should work, but it's more of a trial and error thing just to make sure that they are working with our pages. Will we get to the point also where we've got reporting in our tool and we're leveraging our own metrics and whatever we can track?
We currently are architecting and scoping out a project which will be the beginnings of all of that tracking. So we're starting with view and click tracking and pulling in updated SEO ranking information so that every month you can track and see, am I improving on my SEO? Are my clicks improving? Are my views improving? All of that. And then we'll expand and grow out from there.
That's excited. If I was excited before this meeting, I'm even more so now, this session, because you've just opened my mind to a lot of things that I wasn't aware of myself. I just want to close with two things. One, if you are a marketer, SEO agency, or anyone working in content creation that needs to be, so say you've got metrics of driving organic traffic through SEO or needing to be picked up by the LLMs, or of course being referenced by AIO, this, hopefully you can see the power of being able to create 50, 100, 200 pages within minutes, maybe sometimes hours, depending on how stretched your campaign is. Hopefully you can see the benefit of that and the speed of ROI. And then just wanted to close with that, Troy. I don't know if you have any sort of closing thoughts.
I guess the thing I would like to add to it, you mentioned earlier we are in that MVP stage. So firstly, I want to say everyone who does jump in and use the tool, thank you. And please give us your feedback because we want to keep improving the tool. And we can only do that by you telling us where it's working for you and where it's not. So please keep the feedback coming. We really want it.
That's awesome. You just triggered another little light bulb in saying that this is public version 1. Just imagine where we're going to be in 3, 6 months, 12 months. I think that's exciting for our early adopters that sign on now in what's going to be possible and what we will have further down the line. So I'm excited. Seems like you are as well. Thanks for your time, mate, and I look forward to some more success moving forward.
Great.
All right. Thanks, Troy. Ciao.